Hey, what's up everybody? It's Kev. I just got back from meeting Tim outside by Forest Hills Bagels to give him his hat. And awesome guy. To Tim's wife, don't yell at him for his hat addiction. I've got a guitar addiction, so my guitars cost like $2,000 a piece and $1,000 a piece, so hat addictions, not that bad, right? Anyway, Tim's a great guy, and he was telling me sometimes he falls asleep to the Hats and Guitars Facebook group and stuff, flipping through all the hats and everything. And his wife tells him, "What are you, crazy? You're looking at all these hats at 2 a.m. and this and that?" I thought it was a funny story because I do the exact same thing, but generally for me, I'm doing it with guitars and stuff, so I can relate, you know. Another guitar. I think the key is you got to get them all in the same color. So if you keep getting green guitars, and then, you know, she asks and says, "Is that a new guitar?" And just say, "Oh, this old one? That's my green one." You know, kind of like I Love Lucy when she used to get new hats, and Ricky would say, "Did you buy a new hat?" And she said, "This whole thing." And then she'd open the closet and like a million boxes would fall out on his head and stuff. But all right. Something cool just came in the mail. So it's supposed to be here like a week ago, but my partner sent it to me a little bit late. It just arrived. I just wanted to show it to you. Do like an unboxing. It's a Stetson leather multi-tool. Let's take a look at it. Craig ordered this. This is just an old promotional item from Stetson. It's got a lot of weight to it. It's a really nice, like a Leatherman tool. Hiya, hiya, hiya. I pinch your head. I pinch your head. But anyway. Yeah, it's the Stetson Leatherman tool. It's pretty neat, right? It's got all those like screwdrivers and knives and fish scalers and stuff in there. Looks like a saw. It's got a ruler on it. I don't know what that is. Some sort of pry thing, pry bar, like a screwdriver or something. Bottle openers and stuff. There's a Phillips head. But anyway, this is gonna go out Tuesday because I think the post office is closed on Monday. Just thought it was pretty neat. One of you guys would like to see them. I could always find more of these for you guys. I have a collector friend who collects these, and I can always get some from him. Okay, anyway. I want to talk to you guys about hat stretchers, table stretchers, okay? There are different types of hat stretchers out there. Some are what they call hat jacks. What it is, instead of the entire crown being stretched on a hat, like instead of all of this being stretched, it's just a 1-inch section that's being stretched. So you stretch just the sweatband, basically, the part that goes, you know, around your temple. So what happens is when you stretch this area to there, the hat is shaped like this. So you've got the stretch, but it looks like big lump in the back. Generally, most people do the stretch right there. One of the tricks is that you line up this ribbon with the wood stretcher, so just the ribbon is protruding, and it kind of, this hiding it on that line sort of makes the bulge a little less noticeable. But anyway, when you use a hat jack, this is what you do. You stretch this part here so it goes out, so it looks like a stair step. Okay, then when it's cool and you take it off the hat jack, what you have to do is get rid of that stair step. You have to take this step designed like this and blend it to a, so you want to take a stair. So in other words, right here is where you stretched, it comes out. You want to take that part here and blend it like a slant. Okay, so you're going to have this big bulge after the hat jack stretch. You have to take it then, heat up this whole side and pull it against your, like a side wall, to try to get all that. Or you put your hand inside while it's steamed and you just, you just try to push that area with your knuckle, and you have to slant, kind of blend that. It's a big job. Basically, when you use a hat jack, fixing all the side effects and crap that the hat jack did is way more work than the actual stretch. Yeah, you stretched it, it fits, but now the hat looks ridiculous. It just doesn't fit. It's hard to explain. It's like the hat fits you here, but not up here. So with a hat jack, you can keep stretching and stretching and stretching. You'll get that little stair step. It just doesn't look good, and the fit is not really efficient either, especially if you're a taller guy. Okay, let's try to break this down. So with a hat jack, you're only stretching one area here. With a table stretcher, you're stretching everything, okay? The idea is that a hat jack is basically, it's useless. It doesn't really work. People use them as like shoe trees, and they keep them inside their hat, and the weight of it knocks them out of shape, and it's just, it's a good product. It's not a great product. It's a good product if you're a hatter and you have good steam and you know what to use, how to use it, how to utilize it. It's like, it's not the whole thing. It's kind of like, once you use a hat jack and you stretch, there's so many steps you have to do after that to fix all the damage that a hat jack did, that you have this weird, strange bulge coming out the back here, like that. Fixing it is something that 99% of the people out there don't know how to do, or can't do, don't have the facilities to do it, the steam, the know-how, or they don't even really think to do it. They just figure, I could wear the hat now. Yeah, it looks bad, but at least I could wear the hat. It shouldn't have to be like that. Table stretchers are basically the way to do it. There are some basic kind of like 101, hat stretcher 101 things that you need to learn. Firstly, a soft hat, like a soft Borsalino, is going to stretch way easier than a tough Western. Something like a Stetson Western has a really strong reeded sweatband, really strong. The felt is, like 4 to 5 times thicker than a fedora. It's also way more dense and hard. And the reed they use, everything is heavy duty. It's kind of like if you pull it, you can barely even change the shape on it, okay? But like a fedora is just infinitely, you can just stretch it. There's nothing to it, okay? A Borsalino, a soft hat, like a felt traveler, a fur felt traveler, a Christie's, a Borsalino, a vintage hat, anything that's soft is going to stretch really easily. It will stretch over your knee. You can take it, pull it like this lengthwise over your knee, very hard, but carefully, and the job is done. Basically. But if you're dealing with something like a Stetson Rancher, Stetson Open Road, anything that's got that hard leather reeded sweatband and thick stiff felt, anything that feels really hard and stubborn like that, it's going to be a completely different deal to stretch, much harder. Now, the way I generally stretch is like this. Let me demonstrate with another hat. All right. There's a back seam here. Right back here is the seam, the stitches, okay? The leather sweatband is put in. It's a strip, like a belt. They put it in here, here, and then they sew it together here, okay? So in other words, when they put in a sweatband, it looks like this. It's just flat, like a belt. They come in sizes, there's numbers, right? There's a 55 sweatband, a 56, a 57, all the way up to like 64 centimeters. So they take the right sweatband, they put it in the hat, they go like this, and then they sew it at the seam right there, okay? So here's the seam of the whole hat right there. Basically, if you're stretching, if something's gonna break on this hat, that's the seam is right there. It's gonna pop and open, or these stitches here that hold the bow are gonna open. Bam, 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 bam. They're gonna stretch and they're gonna look like, you know, you'll see these stitches here kind of like with some tension on them, and they're gonna look like they're gonna wanna rip, but they do stretch while you're stretching. You wanna keep your eye on those stitches, on these 4 tack stitches. As you stretch, they're gonna look more and more stretched. You gotta get it to the point where it looks like it's about to break, but it's not gonna break, okay? That might be a more intense stretch, a bigger stretch, but that is something you wanna watch on bigger stretches. You wanna keep your eye on that. Now, the reason I'm talking about this back is because when I stretch, first thing I do is I steam back here, okay? I want to make these stitches, the seam stitches to that sweatband, I want to make them more elastic and soft. So what happens is you hit it here, you steam it and get that really hot, okay? Maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know, get it really hot. Depends on your steamer, obviously, how hot it is. A Jiffy steamer, you know, I don't know, 10 seconds or something. And then once it's really hot, you put it on the steamer. You put it on the stretcher. Sorry, that's my Stetson pin. Put it on with the stretcher all the way closed. Get it as small as possible. Put this down as far as you can. Open the crown like that, okay? Make it very, very straight. You have to have an eagle eye. You don't want to stretch it slanted. You want to stretch it perfectly straight. Even it out. Look at both sides, the front and the back. Very important. Get it to the top of the hat like this, okay? While it's still hot, you want to start cranking, okay? Then you're going to feel it start to tighten up. You'll get some tension, all right? Once it starts to tighten up and it feels like, all right, now it's stopping here. You want to hold it under some more steam, okay? You could lift it up, or you could just have your stand by the steamer so it just hits it automatically. You don't have to lift it up. But then you just steam it again, and then as that gets hot again, you'll feel it softening up and you'll be able to stretch more and more and more. Now, when you heat it and it's under pressure like that, under tension, you can even hear the seams popping as they get hot. They go pop, 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 because they're kind of like loosening up. You hear them just pop, 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 pop. Like as you heat it, you'll get more and more headroom to stretch. Okay, so it'll be like tight, you heat it a little more, and you'll be able to stretch a little more. Okay, you heat it a little more, you stretch a little more. You keep looking at those stitches, make sure you're not gonna pop them, because if you pop those stitches, you're gonna have to sew them back on again, which is just a big pain in the you-know-what, and you don't wanna do it. And you keep your eyes on those stitches, okay? And once you feel you got it to a point where it's, you know, really good and stretched, you stop, okay? You know, firstly, you have to overstretch a lot. You have to overstretch. If you think you got to stretch it this much, you probably have to stretch it 2 or 3 times as much. A lot of times what I do is I just stretch it to the max. I stretch it to the point where it starts, I feel that tension, I hit it more, stretch it, I hit it more, and I stretch it. It depends if you need a lot of stretch or a little stretch, but stretching shrinks back. So when you stretch, you might say, okay, I gotta stretch it 1 centimeter. So what you do is you aim for stretching 2 centimeters, okay? You stretch 2 centimeters, and when you take it off and the hat starts relaxing and shrinking back, you've compensated for it. So since you stretch for 2 centimeters, it'll shrink back to like, you know, a little, like 1 centimeter, okay? So it's like that. You have to overstretch because it always shrinks back, okay? But it doesn't shrink all the way back, okay? So let's say you start off and your hat is a size 57, okay? You need to get it to a 58, okay? So I'll stretch it like I'm going to a 59 or a 60, all right? I'll leave it there. And then by the time it shrinks back, it won't be a 60, it'll be like a 57.5 or a 58, okay? So you have to overdo it to compensate because it will always come back at the end, that's just physics, but you want to, you know, you want to overstretch it a little bit. All right, make sure it's very, very, very like parallel, you know, straight. You don't want to stretch at an angle. Next thing you're going to do is let it completely cool. It has to be totally cool before you take it off the stretcher. I've had colleagues that want to leave it on overnight. You could leave it on overnight. It's not going to hurt it. But I feel once the hat is completely cool, it's stable and stabilized, and it's not going to really do anything more. So you could leave it on the stretcher for a half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever you want. As long as it's totally cool to the touch, you feel that back seam, it should be cool and it should feel dry. So I'd say leave it on there for like an hour or something, you know. More is good. You could do more. Overnight, you can do that too. You know, you could leave it on a week if you want, but I don't believe that it's going to do anything else. As long as that hat has totally dried and it's totally cooled, it's the same thing. So, you know, give it a couple hours or something like that. You know, go get some lunch or whatever, get back to it. You take it off, loosen it, okay. Go inspect what you did. Hopefully there's no cracks in the leather. Now, if you have a vintage hat, you always gotta check the leather, okay? Here's the deal. Vintage hats have dried out sweatbands a lot of the time. It's a gamble and it's hard to find them with fresh sweatbands. You never know by pictures. You have to just use your eagle eye and your sense, you know, your common sense, and try to find hats that don't have rotted out, dried sweatbands. If you see flakes, that could be a sign, you know, if it's flaking off. Just the rotted stitches, if the sweatband is coming out, that's nothing. The band could be fine and soft, but the stitches rot most of the time because they're cotton. You can get that sewn in, you know, I could do that for you. You could send it to me. I don't know what I would charge you for that, you know. I think the person charges me something like 30 bucks, so I'd have to charge you like, you know, 40, 45 bucks, so I could spend a day in the city doing it. But you need to check out the sweatbands before you stretch, okay? The sweatband is dry and crunchy and crackly. 100%, it's probably gonna crack somewhere when you stretch, okay? But look, the hat wasn't wearable before, now it'll be wearable. You stretch it, it's got a little crack in the sweatband here and here, whatever. Yeah, you can wear it. If that sweatband's in good shape, it's not dry, it's soft, it's stretchy, you'll be fine. It's not gonna break. But if you have a sweatband that's dry and crumbly and stuff, you have to tell the customer before, say, look, this is probably gonna break when I stretch it. It's gonna crack here and here, but you'll be able to wear the hat. It's no big deal, don't worry about it. Would you like me to go through with it? And they always say, yeah, you know, right now I can't even wear the hat. Yes, that's fine. So expect that when a hat is dried out. What else? What else? You can use these hat stretchers without cutting the reed. Okay, a lot of people ask, what about cutting the reed? Okay, now the reed in the sweatband is in this little tube here. Sometimes I'll cut it right here, expose the reed. There's a little piece of nylon thread in there, okay? And then I just snip the reed, just cut it, so that the tension on that circular piece of wire is off. You just snip it and that's it. The surgery is almost invisible. It's really hard to see. If you do it well, you get a good like X-Acto knife blade, like a brand new one, something very sharp, you know, like one of those good like kitchen scissors, the knife scissors like from Cuisinart or whatever. Get something really good and do the surgery. You have to cut the reed when it doesn't work. You try it first, you see if this works. If a stretch is not holding and it's shrinking back, you gotta cut the reed. 90% of the time, if you're working with a Western hat, something that's really hard and stiff and it's like, you know, like a really hard hat, yeah, it's going to shrink back because the tension on that reeded band and that thick felt is just too much. If you're dealing with a soft hat, a vintage hat, a Borsalino, things like that, you probably don't got to cut the reed. The cut reed thing is for stubborn hats, hard hats, things that shrink back all the time when you stretch them. So what I do is I try it without plenty of times. If it's not holding a stretch, then I cut the reed. I've got plenty of videos on how to cut it. It's basically this little tube here has the reed. You find the spot right at the back seam where that tube crosses the back seam. And you take an X-Acto blade or something, you just start sawing it right there, and you just open it. And you'll see a little piece of nylon fishing line inside there. If it's an old vintage hat, it's got real reed in there, like reeds, like cattail, you know, like the stuff they make your saxophone reeds out of, you know, like wood. But 90% of the times it's just a piece of fishing line. You snip it with a little piece of scissor, that's it. You can push them back into the two tubes so they're hidden, they're not sticking out again. You use the edge of your scissors and jam it in there. And that's it. You could even take a thread and needle and then just sew that back up if you want. I usually don't even do it because when I do that incision, it's just so invisible you don't see anything anyway. I just push the nylon threads back into that little tube so nobody sees it, and then bam, we're good. Then you stretch. I'd say no, you don't have to cut the reed with a table stretcher, not unless it's a really stiff hat like a Western, a 6X open road, something super stiff. Soft hats, definitely not. There are a million uses for this thing. Now, it's not only for stretching. Excuse me. As a matter of fact, I use these table stretchers 99% of the time not for stretching. I use them for hat shaping and all sorts of different tricks. I like it just to be like pretty much like a mold, sort of like a hat block. And then I'll use that for hat shaping and things like that. For instance, if I want to shape a hat, let's take a hat, okay. This is a 1950s open road from Stetson. I'm selling in a 7/1/8. This is on sale right now. It went down from like $355 to $275 shipped. Anybody wants this, you just call me. Email at kevintoddgerber@gmail.com. If this is an old video you're watching, it's probably gone, but you know, you can email me. Kevin Todd Gerber, Gerber, @gmail.com. Okay, that's a 1950s Stetson open road. Let's say I want to make a nice teardrop. I'll use this. This is my shaping device. And without this, you know, I can't really do much. This is what I do. I put it on top. Okay, you could use that to open your crowns. Okay, let's say you want to open a crown nicely. You steam the hat and you use the walls of this thing to pull it against, pull it, push it against. So each one of these walls are slammed up. Each one of the walls of the hat are slammed up against the side of that brass, and you're using it as a straight edge while it dries. So at the end, you've got straight, 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 straight. Everything is straight, and then the top two, you kind of like, you know, use this as a mold while it's drying. That's really common. I do that to get the wrinkles out of crowns. I steam it and I press it really hard. I pull it against there and I hold it hold it while it cools, and let go. Okay. Now another thing you can do is you use this to do different crown shapes, bashes, as the young'uns call them these days. Let's say I want to do a teardrop. You know, I'll do something like, I'll put it on there, and I'll start. See what I'm doing? I'm tracing around there. You lift the hat up, and it goes deeper. Lift the hat up. You see? And I got that deeper shape. You can take your fingers like this and make that like that. Make the point. You could do it like this. Back. So essentially, I use this to shape my hats all the time. Yeah, I could do it without it, but it's way, way easier and way better with it. I couldn't really live without it. When I started up this steaming thing from home, the first thing I did is I said, I gotta get one of these. Yeah, we're gonna be selling them now. We are selling them. We've already sold a few units. They're $325 plus shipping. Shipping is $42 right now. And you could just contact me, Kevin Todd Gerber, at gmail.com, and we do have hat stretchers for sale just like this, but they're handmade in the USA, made of solid wood, just like the old ones in the old vintage days, you know, really nicely sanded and polished and finished and everything, made by a very talented engineer friend of mine. And if you need one, you let me know. All you have to do is call me, PayPal, email, you PayPal that money. $367, I think, and we have them boxed up. We'll send them out immediately. Well, it's a holiday tomorrow, so it'll go out on Tuesday, I guess. But anyway, that's called the Hat Attack by TJ. That's a hat stretcher that we've been developing so that you can get one of these. You know, these things cost like $1,500 and stuff. So, you know, nobody ever gets them because of that. This one heats up. It's a, you know, a heated one, but I prefer not to use that feature. I'd rather use steam because to me, steam is just, it's safer for the sweatband. I don't like putting a leather sweatband on a heated thing like this, so it's just dangerous. When a hat maker does that and they heat these up, the sweatbands are always taken out first. Okay, so the hat is stretched without a sweatband in it, and then the sweatband is sewn in at the very end. So if you wanted this hat to be professionally enlarged, what they would do is remove the sweatband, remove the outer band, okay, open the crown up, and then they stretch it to a bigger size, okay. They could block the brim, reflange the brim, etc. And when the job is all over, they put in the sweatband. But you don't want to heat a hat up with this heating mechanism when there's a leather sweatband in there. So it's good that these things, Hat Attacks, don't heat up, because a lot of people would be ruining their hats. The heat feature is really for hat makers. It's not for hat wearers and, you know, like shaping your hats and everyday repairs and stuff. It's best that they don't heat up. The best thing is to use steam for your heat. Now, when you make a teardrop, I like to angle it down, but not a lot. It should be so subtle. What I do is I keep the break in the middle, right there. Then it angles down very subtle. Okay, then it goes forward, and then it goes down in the front, like just a tiny bit. So up, regular, down. To me, the side view of a teardrop is very important. I mean, I just threw this together in a second, but, you know, that's basically what I do, okay? So you want to start with a center crease, a basic center crease. You put it on, trace around the back like a horseshoe shape, you know, like that. And as you trace, you're applying a tiny bit of pressure so it's going down, okay? Now, if it's slanted too much, you screwed up. You start again. Let's start again. apply. So what it is, you're applying pressure, but you're lifting the hat. You lift the hat to make that deeper. Okay, so if I want to make this slant more intense, what I do is I lift the hat more. So I lift it up, and then I make that teardrop, and there's a very big slant. But if I don't lift it much, it's more even, like that. Those are things you have to practice when you're making your teardrops. And then at the very end, I like this part to just come down a teeny bit right there. Not a lot, but a tiny bit. Things like this, like a little wrinkle on the side, that's a perfect use for this. What I would do is hit this with steam and then just pull it against there, and that's the end. Then you basically, your wrinkle is gone, okay? So that's very easily done. I have some hat attack units in the mail. There's one on its way to me. So I'll be doing much more of these tutorials this week. We're doing a lot of hat stretching tutorials and hat shaping tutorials. And then right after that, we're gonna go into the new KTG line, which is going to be released in like a week or two or so. And we can talk about the new KTG hats, how to order them, what the new models are, what they're like, and how you could get them. Right now, we've got the open road on Frank, is the other Frank Behringer. He's gonna hang around and just watch. Stinger? Oh, I can't put the sting. I'm wearing my on my outdoors hat. I just met Tim outside at the bagel place, so I had on my down jacket. I don't like to wear a fedora with a down jacket. This is my winter hat. All right. So you want to get rid of those wrinkles on the crown. First thing you want to do is hit the area where the wrinkles are with steam. Just hit it all up. Get that whole area saturated, and the perimeters around it, like the margins, just in case. And you want to pull it against that form, nice and hard, right where those wrinkles are. One at a time. You do each wrinkle. Do this one, hold it, let it dry, spin it around, work on the next wrinkle. This is in a really weird place. I use my knuckle to get this one. Another way I get it, I just use my knuckle flat as a sort of a flat surface, and I just kind of pat it down. Okay, that's another really useful purpose for table steamers, that you just use it to get the wrinkles out of your crown like that. If you want a good shape, you have to start with a blank canvas. You can't take like a teardrop and bring it to a center crease, or turn this into that and that into that without starting with a blank canvas. You have to have a blank, open crown. Otherwise, the old shape's going to get in the way and just keep popping back. So you do this in, you know, in little sets. You steam. You let the hat cool, you set it down to cool, and then you come back to it. There's one particular little wrinkle that's very hard to reach, so I'm using my knuckles to get it. What I do is I make my knuckle flat like this, and I use this surface here as a flattener, and I just flatten inside. So if there's wrinkles, like, you know, there's not a lot left to show you here, but if there's a wrinkle, I want to go on the inside with my flattening tool, like that, and just very straight get those wrinkles out. You can take your fingers and turn them into tools like that, make little flat things. Now, if you don't have a round thing like this, you can use a flat surface too, okay? You could get wrinkles out just by doing it and rolling it. So in other words, you make that wrinkle flat, okay? And then you turn it, you make more flat surfaces, so it's flat, 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 flat. And eventually, everything is gone. So let's put it this way. If the hat is flat, that's better than having a wrinkle, okay? Because flat is very easy to unflatten. So you can try that too. Steam it, and then put it against a flat surface. Pat it down like a pancake, roll it. Good. Wrinkles are like almost all gone now. They're like looking really, really good. 1950s open road, Stetson. Hit me up, $275. Hat Attack stretchers, $325 plus 42 shipping. There are going to be more tutorials on hat stretching soon, guys, okay? So I hope everybody's well. Peace.